There is a book that claims to answer the greatest questions ever asked, such as the origin of the universe, the meaning of life, and the future of humanity. It presents a detailed cosmology, describes interdimensional beings, and claims to reveal the true nature of God. This book is said to be different from ordinary human creation. The book is believed to have been dictated by higher intelligences from worlds beyond human understanding. If this sounds like science fiction or a mystical delusion, the user is asked to prepare to discover the Urantia Book. This enigmatic work has intrigued scholars, religious thinkers, and occultists for decades. The video will explore what is in this book that stirs such fascination and controversy, who really wrote it, and whether it could contain the key to understanding the universe. It will dive into this enigma and explore the secrets of this mysterious book. Some books arise from human imagination, creativity, or the desire to understand the unknown. However, there are also books that seem to emerge from a space beyond time, carrying an air of mystery, encoded messages, and truths that challenge human paradigms. The Urantia Book is considered to belong to this second category. The video will investigate the origin of this book, its authorship, and whether it is a revelation from higher intelligences or simply a product of the human mind. To understand this enigma, the video will go back to the early 20th century and examine the strange events surrounding the emergence of this manuscript. The story begins in Chicago in the 1920s. Psychiatrist William Sadler, a renowned physician and scholar of the paranormal, began investigating a case that deeply intrigued him. One of his patients, whose identity was never revealed, exhibited an unusual phenomenon. During deep sleep, he would speak eloquently, using sophisticated vocabulary and discussing philosophical and cosmic subjects with impressive clarity. Sadler, initially skeptical of mediumistic phenomena, became fascinated. He wondered how someone who normally showed no deep knowledge of theology or science could articulate such complex concepts. The situation became even more intriguing because the patient had no recollection of anything upon waking. It was at this point that a significant assertion arose. The book was not simply a collection of esoteric ideas, but a direct revelation from highly advanced spiritual beings. These entities purportedly stated that humanity was ready to receive more profound knowledge about the structure of the cosmos, the nature of divinity, and the destiny of souls. The forum group, who had been meticulously documenting the process, decided that the material should be published, but not as a conventional book. They believed they were dealing with something transcendental, and that the manner in which the information was delivered indicated a specific mission to guide humanity toward a new era of consciousness. Consequently, in 1955, the Urantia Book was finally published by the newly formed Urantia Foundation. The book's content was extensive and all-encompassing, divided into 4 main sections: the nature of supreme reality in universal cosmology, the structure of inhabited worlds and their spiritual orders, the history and evolution of Urantia, Earth, and a detailed narrative of the life and mission of Jesus Christ. The depth and complexity of the work led many scholars to question its origins. After all, it presented scientific and philosophical concepts that in some instances seemed to anticipate discoveries that would only occur decades later. Unlike other channeled spiritual works, such as Allan Kardec's The Spirit's Book or The Messages of A Course in Miracles, the Urantia Book had no identified author. Even the patient who received the messages was not officially named. This secrecy only intensified the mystery surrounding the book. Some theorists suggest that the book may have been the outcome of a psychological experiment conducted by Sadler and his circle of scholars. They wondered if the human unconscious in altered states of consciousness could access a collective reservoir of knowledge, a concept that Carl Jung, with his theory of the collective unconscious, would have likely addressed. Conversely, those who believe in the book's authenticity argue that its complexity and internal consistency are evidence that it could not have been invented by humans. The language used, the precise structure, and the depth of the concepts presented defy any conventional explanation. The central dilemma of the Urantia Book is this: if it is a fraudulent document, how can its precision and coherence be explained? And if it truly is a divine revelation, what are the implications for humanity? Its proponents claim the book contains truths that surpass human intellect. offering a vision of God and the universe that transcends traditional religions. Its critics, however, view the work as a fascinating philosophical and mythological construction, but ultimately still a product of the human mind. Perhaps the answer lies not in the book itself, but in its effect on those who read it. It provokes profound questions, challenges established beliefs, and encourages reflection on humanity's true role in the cosmos. After all, as the philosopher Plato once stated, what is important is not the answer, but the question that leads us beyond what we already know. The universe we perceive is only a fragment of something far greater. Our senses are limited, our science is still in its early stages, and traditional religions offer glimpses of a spiritual universe, but often in symbolic or incomplete ways. The Urantia Book does not limit itself to metaphors or dogmas. It presents a vast and detailed cosmology, a geography of the cosmos that challenges our understanding of existence. According to this mysterious book, the universe is not a random chaos, but a highly organized structure inhabited by countless forms of life, energies, and higher intelligences. The planet Urantia, which the book identifies as Earth's cosmic name, is presented as a mere speck within a vast and ongoing process of cosmic evolution. This raises fundamental questions about the true nature of this universe, who governs it, and humanity's role within its immensity. To address these questions, the video suggests setting aside preconceived notions and embarking on a journey into a vision of the cosmos that could fundamentally alter our understanding of reality. The Urantia Book outlines a model of reality unlike anything commonly known. It describes a central and eternal universe surrounded by a vast collection of super-universes, each containing billions of inhabited planets. At the apex of existence lies Havana, the central and perfect universe, considered the dwelling place of supreme divinity and the ultimate destination for all souls progressing toward perfection. Orbiting this eternal universe are 7 super-universes, each governed by beings of immeasurable intelligence and power. Our super-universe is identified as Orvonton, and within it resides the Milky Way galaxy, which contains our small planet Urantia, Earth. Within this grand cosmic design, the Urantia Book details a hierarchy of evolutionary worlds and spiritual beings who oversee the functioning of the cosmos. According to the book, planets like Earth are not isolated creations, but are integral parts of a developmental plan spanning billions of years. This concept echoes ancient mystical and esoteric traditions. The Gnostics spoke of eons and spiritual hierarchies governing different realms of reality, while Hindu traditions describe lokas and talas, higher and lower worlds inhabited by various orders of beings. A key distinction is that the Urantia Book describes all of this in a highly structured manner, akin to a comprehensive cosmic map. However, if the universe is so vast and organized, the video poses the question of why Earth appears to be a place of such suffering and chaos. The book explains this by stating that Earth is a relatively young planet still in the process of development. Unlike more advanced civilizations throughout the cosmos, humanity is still struggling to overcome its own limitations. The book attributes this to a cosmic event that occurred hundreds of thousands of years ago, a spiritual rebellion that affected Urantia and other developing worlds. Lucifer, a celestial ruler of our local system, is said to have led a revolt against the universal order, rejecting divine sovereignty and spreading disruptive ideas across several planets. This rebellion resulted in Earth's isolation from direct communication with the higher worlds, creating a form of cosmic quarantine. This concept bears a strong resemblance to Judeo-Christian traditions concerning the fall of Lucifer and his influence over humanity. However, while traditional religions often view this event dualistically as a battle between good and evil, the Urantia Book describes it as a temporary disruption in the evolutionary plan of the cosmos. The book suggests that eventually this error will be rectified and humanity will resume its path of spiritual ascension. In the meantime, human beings must actively pursue their own spiritual evolution through moral development, intellectual growth, and unconditional love. Each individual is accompanied by a divine spark called a thought adjuster, which guides the soul toward eventual union with the supreme divinity. The universe as described in the Urantia Book is not a desolate or chaotic place, but is governed by a hierarchy of spiritual beings who oversee the evolution of worlds and civilizations. Among these orders of beings are the Ancients of Days, rulers of the super-universes, beings of incomprehensible wisdom who represent divine justice. The Urantia Book also describes creator sons, such as Michael of Nebadon, identified as Jesus Christ, who are responsible for the creation and evolution of entire planetary systems. The Melchizedeks are presented as cosmic instructors who serve as spiritual teachers to developing worlds, while the Seraphim are spiritual guardians who accompany and protect human souls throughout their incarnations. According to the Urantia Book, each human being has a significant destiny within this grand cosmic design. The book asserts that no one is lost or without purpose. The soul's journey does not conclude at death, but continues in other worlds, where a gradual process of ascension takes place until union with supreme divinity is achieved. This concept bears a close resemblance to many ideas found in esoteric traditions. Hermeticism, for instance, speaks of a path of ascension where the initiate must elevate their consciousness to become like the gods. Buddhism teaches of the soul's evolution through multiple existences until enlightenment is attained. The Urantia Book, in turn, proposes a detailed journey in which each individual passes through different worlds and experiences until spiritual perfection is reached. Given that everything in the universe is presented as having order, purpose, and structure, the video then poses the question of what this implies for humanity and the true role of our civilization within this immense cosmic tapestry. According to the Urantia Book, humanity is in an early stage of spiritual development. Just as a child must learn, make mistakes, and grow, Earth is only at the beginning of its journey toward cosmic maturity. The crucial question then becomes whether humanity is ready to take this evolutionary leap. The book suggests that humanity's progress hinges on its ability to overcome selfishness, ignorance, and materialism. As more individuals awaken to their true nature, the connection with the higher worlds will be restored, and humanity will once again become an integrated part of the cosmic community. The video asks what prevents humanity from reaching this advanced level. The answer, according to the Urantia Book, is our own free will. Unlike other civilizations that have already overcome their initial challenges, humanity is still in a phase of internal conflict, resisting the greater truth being offered. However, the optimistic message is that each individual holds within them the key to this transformation. The Urantia Book posits that within every human being resides a fragment of the divine, a small spark of infinite light that guides their journey. As each person awakens to this inner reality, the entire civilization advances to a new level of existence. If the Urantia Book's claims are accurate, the universe is far more complex and purposeful than we typically imagine. Our existence has a grand purpose, and the cosmos is not a cold, meaningless void, but a living, conscious organism. Regardless of whether the Urantia Book is a genuine revelation or simply an impressive philosophical construct, the video concludes that it invites us to fundamentally rethink our view of reality. The figure of Jesus Christ is then introduced as undoubtedly one of the most enigmatic figures in human history, considered the Messiah and Son of God by millions. While others see him as a wise teacher whose message has been distorted over time, the video then poses the question of whether Jesus' story is far more profound than any religious tradition has ever revealed. The Urantia Book is presented as offering a narrative of Jesus that challenges conventional beliefs and provides a completely different vision of his identity, mission, and cosmic purpose. While the Bible's Gospels depict an earthly Jesus whose life includes miracles, sermons, and a final sacrifice on the cross, the video points out the many gaps in that narrative, particularly regarding his childhood and youth, and suggests that much of his original teaching may have been altered by dogma and later interpretations. In contrast, the Urantia Book is said to provide an extensive and detailed biography of his life, describing his childhood, travels, relationships with different cultures, and even the years before his public ministry. According to the Urantia Book, Jesus was not merely an enlightened teacher or a prophet, but the incarnation of a much higher being. Michael of Nebadon, one of the creator sons of the universe. His divine mission involved experiencing life as a human to fully comprehend his created children. This perspective diverges from the traditional Christian view of Jesus as the unique Son of God. Within the Urantia Book's cosmology, numerous creator sons exist throughout the cosmos, each responsible for governing and developing different regions of the universe. This implies that Jesus' arrival on Earth was not solely to impart morality or establish a new religion. His purpose was to fulfill a grander cosmic objective, the direct experience of human life. As a being already divine, he needed to incarnate as a man to undergo the difficulties, challenges, and emotions of ordinary human existence. Only by authentically experiencing life could he become a perfect sovereign of his universe. This interpretation of Jesus' story aligns with certain Gnostic traditions that viewed Christ not as a sacrifice for the atonement of sins, but as a divine being bringing liberating knowledge. For instance, the Gospel of Thomas portrays Jesus more as an enlightened teacher than a crucified redeemer. The key difference is that while Gnostics often believed Jesus was a spirit who only appeared human, the Urantia Book asserts that he was fully human and simultaneously fully divine. Another intriguing aspect is the Urantia Book's detailed account of Jesus' childhood, a period largely absent from the canonical Gospels. It describes his relationships with his parents, his inquiries about life, his struggles to understand his own mission, and even his travels to Egypt, Mesopotamia, and India before commencing his public ministry, where he encountered various spiritual and philosophical traditions. These descriptions resonate with popular theories suggesting Jesus may have studied Buddhist or esoteric teachings before returning to Galilee. However, the video asks why this detailed account of Jesus' life is not widely known. The Urantia Book proposes that after his death and resurrection, his teachings were rapidly distorted by those seeking to transform his message into an institutionalized religion. His purpose was to fulfill a grander cosmic objective, the direct experience of human life. As a being already divine, he needed to incarnate as a man to undergo the difficulties, challenges, and emotions of ordinary human existence. Only by authentically experiencing life could he become a perfect sovereign of his universe. This interpretation of Jesus' story aligns with certain Gnostic traditions that viewed Christ not as a sacrifice for the atonement of sins, but as a divine being bringing liberating knowledge. For instance, the Gospel of Thomas portrays Jesus more as an enlightened teacher than a crucified redeemer. The key difference is that while Gnostics often believed Jesus was a spirit who only appeared human, the Urantia Book asserts that he was fully human and simultaneously fully divine. Another intriguing aspect is the Urantia Book's detailed account of Jesus' childhood, a period largely absent from the canonical Gospels. It describes his relationships with his parents, his inquiries about life, his struggles to understand his own mission, and even his travels to Egypt, Mesopotamia, and India before commencing his public ministry, where he encountered various spiritual and philosophical traditions. These descriptions resonate with popular theories suggesting Jesus may have studied Buddhist or esoteric teachings before returning to Galilee. However, the video asks why this detailed account of Jesus' life is not widely known. The Urantia Book proposes that after his death and resurrection, his teachings were rapidly distorted by those seeking to transform his message into an institutionalized religion. Instead of emphasizing his teachings on love, direct connection with God, and spiritual evolution, religions focused on his crucifixion and the concept of original sin. Over time, his identity as a cosmic master was forgotten, and he was reduced to an object of dogmatic worship. The Urantia Book also offers a fascinating explanation of his crucifixion. Unlike traditional Christianity, which views Jesus' death as a necessary sacrifice to redeem humanity's sins, the Urantia Book posits that his crucifixion was not a divine plan, but a consequence of human fear and ignorance. His mission was not to die for our sins, but to live as the ultimate example of love and truth, demonstrating the path of spiritual evolution. Therefore, his death was a tragic event, but not essential for humanity's salvation. This view challenges the central tenet of traditional Christianity that Jesus died to pay for the sins of the world. Instead, the Urantia Book suggests that salvation arises not from bloodshed, but from individual spiritual growth, guided by the inner divine spark present in every human being, the thought adjuster. Jesus, according to this narrative, came to show us how to live in harmony with this inner divine presence, not to establish a belief system founded on guilt and atonement. If this account is accurate, humanity has spent 2 millennia misunderstanding Jesus' true message. He desired not to be worshipped as a martyr, but to be seen as an elder brother, a guide who came to teach the path to enlightenment. According to the Urantia Book, Jesus did not come to establish a church or create rituals of worship, but to awaken humanity to its own inherent divinity. The video then poses a crucial question. Is all of this merely an invention? How can we determine if the Urantia Book is a genuine revelation and not simply a brilliant philosophical work? The answer, the video suggests, may lie in the impact this knowledge has on those who study it. Unlike traditional religious texts that often demand blind faith, the Urantia Book encourages readers to question, reflect, and experience truth for themselves. It does not impose dogmas, but proposes that true enlightenment arises from direct personal experience with the divine. Regardless of its authenticity, the vision it presents of Jesus is described as both fascinating and transformative. It invites a completely new perspective on Christ, not as a distant savior, but as a living example of spiritual evolution. If this vision is accepted, then the story of Jesus does not conclude with the crucifixion, but continues in the individual journey of each person. After all, if he was indeed a creator's son, his ultimate purpose was not to create followers, but to transform us into beings capable of attaining the same spiritual light he achieved. The video highlights that the Urantia Book's initial impact lies in its challenge to both science and religion. In contrast to traditional science, which often views the universe as a random sequence of events lacking conscious direction, the book asserts that everything follows a planned order, a mathematical and spiritual structure guiding the evolution of every particle in the cosmos. It proposes a cosmology where planets, galaxies, and civilizations are integral parts of a vast divine plan overseen by higher intelligences who guide the development of worlds like our own. Simultaneously, the book contradicts traditional religious beliefs by rejecting concepts such as original sin and the necessity of sacrifice for salvation. Instead, it posits that each person inherently carries a fragment of divinity and that spiritual evolution is a personal, continuous process rooted in the pursuit of truth, not in adherence to dogma. This idea fundamentally alters our understanding of life and death. If the Urantia Book is accurate, death is not the final end, but merely a transition to new realms of existence. The book describes a process wherein souls awaken in other worlds, continuing their evolutionary journey until they attain a state of complete divine consciousness. This concept resonates with numerous ancient esoteric and spiritual traditions, such as the Hindu doctrine of the transmigration of souls or the Hermetic concept of spiritual ascension. However, the Urantia Book presents this process with remarkable detail, almost like describing a technical procedure, a spiritual mechanism that governs the ascent of consciousness throughout the universe. The video then raises the question of why, if the book contains such profound truths, it is not more widely accepted and has not become a sacred text revered like the Bible, the Quran, or the Vedas. The answer it suggests may lie in the very nature of the revelation it offers. In contrast to organized religions that rely on rituals, clergy, and hierarchical structures for their sustenance, the Urantia Book proposes that true spiritual knowledge is accessed individually. It suggests no need for intermediaries, churches, or temples. Divinity resides within each person, and the connection to it depends solely on personal development. This type of knowledge, the video suggests, poses a threat to religious institutions that depend on the dependence of their followers. Another fascinating implication of the Urantia Book lies in its approach to the evolution of civilizations. It proposes that inhabited worlds follow evolutionary cycles, passing through periods of spiritual darkness before reaching a state of cosmic maturity. According to the Urantia Book, Earth remains in a relatively primitive stage of development due to its history of isolation stemming from the Lucifer rebellion. This, the book suggests, explains the prevalence of conflict in our world, the fragmented nature of spirituality, and humanity's struggle to comprehend its true nature. However, the book emphasizes that this condition is not permanent. The book posits that humanity will eventually awaken to a higher level of consciousness and become integrated into a larger cosmic community. If this is accurate, the video suggests that we are currently living through a pivotal period in human history, a moment of transition where technological and scientific advancements could lead either to self-destruction or to an unprecedented evolutionary leap. The Urantia Book proposes that the direction we ultimately take will depend on our individual and collective capacity to align with the higher principles governing the universe. This implies that genuine progress lies not solely in scientific or technological advancements, but also in the elevation of human consciousness. However, the video points out that one aspect of the book is considered problematic by many: its mysterious origin. The video raises the question of how one can accept a text allegedly channeled through an unknown individual without any objective verification of its authenticity. For skeptics, the Urantia Book is viewed as nothing more than a sophisticated literary endeavor, perhaps a synthesis of philosophical and theological concepts crafted by a group of intellectuals. However, for those who deeply engage with its message, the book is said to possess a coherence and level of knowledge that defies simple human explanation. Regardless of its true origin, the video asserts that the impact the book has on its readers is undeniable, with many claiming it fundamentally transforms their worldview, leading to a new perception of existence and humanity's role in the cosmos. Unlike traditional scriptures that often demand dogmatic acceptance, the Urantia Book encourages critical reflection, in-depth study, and personal engagement with the truth it presents. The video suggests that the book's significance extends beyond its detailed cosmology or its interpretation of Jesus Christ. Above all, it serves as an invitation to expand our consciousness and question the limitations of our current understanding. It challenges both scientific and religious paradigms, potentially opening a new path for those who seek a deeper understanding of reality. If it is indeed an authentic revelation, the video proposes that we are looking at one of the most significant documents in human history, a text with the potential to completely redefine our understanding of the universe and spirituality. Even if it is merely a human creation, the video concludes that the Urantia Book remains one of the most intricate and impressive attempts ever undertaken to describe the nature of the cosmos and the destiny of the soul. The central mystery of the Urantia Book lies not only in the answers it provides, but also in the profound questions it provokes. If its claims are accurate, humanity is still at the very beginning of its cosmic journey, with even greater revelations awaiting us in the future. The video ends by posing the question of whether humanity is ready to receive these potential revelations, directly addressing the viewer and asking for their opinion on whether the book contains hidden truths or is simply a sophisticated spiritual fiction, encouraging them to leave a comment and continue the discussion, emphasizing the value of shared knowledge before thanking them for watching. If this exploration into the mysterious Urantia Book sparked your curiosity and perhaps even shifted your perspective on the universe and our place within it, please consider helping us share this thought-provoking message. By spreading awareness of these unique ideas, you contribute to a wider understanding of alternative perspectives. If you found this lesson engaging, give it a like, subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into enigmatic subjects, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next intellectual adventure. Your support helps our channel grow and allows us to continue exploring these fascinating topics.